said, every country has a destiny determined by its character, which is determined by its geography. And our nation has a unique geography. It has two borders, north and south, and two oceans, east and west. And through those borders and through those oceans, we are connected to every group of people in the world. And because of our character, determined by that geography, our nation's destiny is to be the greatest example of human unity that the world has ever seen. He said that in a speech called the Chinese Exclusion Act. So he said that speech entitled Our Composite Nationality, that was a screen against the Chinese Exclusion Act. He stood up just a few years after winning the war against slavery to say, you will not enslave another group of people in this country. To do a whole lot of work for a little bit of money. There was a great movement. In fact, it was oftentimes the most cited reason for opposing the native birth provision to the 14th Amendment. There was an entire movement to push them out of this country before they could build a force for change. Does that sound familiar to you? Bring them to this country, pay them nothing, and then send them packing before they can build a movement that will change this nation for the better. You don't know your history, you will repeat your history. But what made Douglass so prophetic is that he understood that the basic mathematics of migration to this country would result in a democracy shift that would accelerate the change that he and others have been working on for decades, and actually make the phrase "we the people" mean just that. Just as he had seen with the Emancipation Proclamation, he knew that there were more steps to come. Steps like beating back the Chinese Exclusion Act, or today beating back SB 1070, and HB 56, and positive steps like passing the DREAM Act right here in Maryland. And in that speech, Our Composite Nationality, he's very clear about one thing. He says, there is such a thing in this world as human rights. They rest upon no conventional foundation, but are eternal, universal, and indestructible. You've seen firsthand how bigotry can change forms before our very eyes until we no longer call it bigotry. We call it the Black Codes or Jim Crow. We call it states taking the issue of immigration into their own hands. In North Carolina, they call it a traditional marriage amendment. When my parents' marriage was illegal right here in Maryland, they called it an anti-miscegenation law. On the streets of New York City, they call it racial profile. In Arizona, they say it's reasonable suspicion. It's bigotry. It's racism. It's xenophobia. It's human beings literally hating themselves.